traded for the first few weeks without a card machine and noticed straight away that we were actually traded for the first few weeks without a card machine and noticed straight away that we were actually
Everybody's shooting questions at Patrick now. When the celebrity shows up, everybody goes nuts. When will this game appear on Xbox?
Unknown.
I can respond to that question, actually. What's his thing?
Hello and welcome to the live stream. Hello. Sorry, I think I have the wrong mic. There we are. Hello and welcome to this Microsoft Flight Simulator Ask Us Anything live stream. My name is Callum and I am joined by Nick and also Ewan as well. And so yeah, I think we've just had a slight issue with Nick being chopped off there. Let me just see if I can move him across ever so slightly. We had a slight change of the setup here. 1 second. Sorry about this. There we are. Okay, so we have plenty of pre-recorded footage all ready for you guys today on the stream, and we've been taking all of your questions for the last couple of minutes, and we've also been busy spending all day recording some of the key cities that many of you have asked for across the world. So what we're going to do is, for the first few minutes, we're just going to highlight some of the key cities that many of you asked for in the comments, whether that be in the comment section on FS Elite or that be in the chat down below. And then afterwards we'll get into a Q&A session when hopefully we've got a nice range of questions all ready to answer about the new flight sim. So just a few prerequisites before we do proceed. All of the footage you are about to see is pre-recorded. We are not allowed to live stream anything from the simulator, and as such, if you make a request to go closer or go and see something specific, we're not able to because it's just pre-recorded. Another stipulation I want to make very, very clear from the very beginning: we have been using obviously different types of software to record this very quickly over the last few days, so we haven't yet found the best performance for things like stutters and stuff like that, so just bear that in consideration when you do view the footage as well. But other than that, we look forward to sharing with you what we've captured and hope that you have plenty of questions for us in the chat. Now, if you do have any questions, do make sure they go in the chat. We've got a team of people waiting behind the scenes collecting all of those questions, and we'll answer as many as possible. And of course, if there are any issues with the stream, again, do let us know, and we do look forward to helping you. So with all that said and done, we're going to jump straight in with probably one of the most requested cities we had from your comments and everything else in the chats, which is Las Vegas. So let's just jump straight in. So as we can see here, we've got a wonderful view of the strip of Las Vegas. Of course, this is all captured within the sim by our good friend Patrick at the Flight Sim Deck. Plenty of the most well-known established casinos and everything else you can see. And you can just see for miles in the background, and the detail in particular, especially on the MGM Grand here down in the bottom of the screen, just looks absolutely phenomenal. You've got loads of AI traffic as well. I mean, I'm joined by Nick and Eon. Have you guys flown around Vegas yet? What's been your impression of the city?
I just flew around Vegas actually before I started the stream a little bit. I was gonna go to try and fly over to Area 51 actually, but wasn't able to. I had to turn around and land because I was had to get ready for this actually. So I'm gonna later after this. I'm definitely gonna go straight to Area 51. But Vegas, having been there and walked down the strip multiple times, it's great to see all the hotels, the casinos. It's just it gives us the same vibe that I had when I was there in the daytime as well.
Yeah,
I haven't yet experienced it at night. I need to check it out at night.
I mean, just looking at the footage already recorded by Patrick here, the night scene is really in particular impressive, and you can see the different color of different bulbs and stuff used depending on the type of lighting as well. It's all super impressive. I mean, from what we can see here.
Last time I was in Vegas, I was like 3 or 4. So I don't remember much, but pictures, there's the internet, so you can see pictures of Vegas. And I have been in the sim and in Vegas, and it's actually where a mishap happened. And I don't know if it was a bug or it was just pilot error, but my engine quit in the TVM on short final. So Vegas was a bit rough for me, but it did look lovely. And from pictures and from maps, anything it's pretty much the real thing on your computer.
So before I have a quick story about like the failures and stuff. Just to let everyone know what's on the screen right now is Beijing. So again, this was a hugely populated city, and one that was very much requested. And I think it was pretty much requested because it was sort of out of this well-known geographical space. I mean, we all know that China is very secretive when it comes to like data, especially on like Google Maps and Bing Maps and stuff as well. So to see it in the sim, again, we've got all these 3D auto-generated buildings, and again, I think that's taken from data. It's all very, very interesting to see. And that type of quality and realism is it kind of fluctuates, I think, depending on which city. So if we now head over to Helsinki, for example, we're going to see a slightly different take on the way the autogen kind of works. So from my understanding, this technology takes a lot of the 2D imagery, and then the Azure technology then makes it into like 3D buildings and content as well, which is all very, very interesting. But you raise a good point, Ewan, about failures. So from my experience, I turned on some failures with some of the aircraft, which I know is a popular question we're getting through at the moment as well. So it's really interesting to see how failures work, and they're quite realistic as well. I don't know if you've actually switched any of them on yet.
Yes, they are quite realistic, and you need to be careful. So like in real life, let's take the TBM for example. You know, it has the ITT, it has the torque. If you over torque the plane in real life, your engine is gonna eventually quit. And the same in the sim. If you push things to the limit, things will start to break.
Yeah. It's very interesting. So I'm just gonna go through some of the questions now in the chat whilst we have the footage from Helsinki, and then I'll put in a couple of other cities as well. So just starting with a first question from Ricardo Lozada. Apologies if I butcher any of these pronunciations. So will the SDK be available for development for some airports? So we know that the SDK will be available to everybody who owns the sim, so you'll be able to have the same tool set as what the developers have had to build some of the handcrafted airports. Of course, third-party developers will also have access to that SDK as well. So yeah, you will be able to do just as much detail as what the current developers, Sobo and Microsoft, have done with the airports as well. And if you're an approved partner, you'll be able to put it up onto the store as well. We have another question from Captain Dutchy Could. So could we check out Amsterdam Airport? So let me just check my library. I think I have Amsterdam Airport. If I don't, I definitely have footage of Amsterdam itself. So I'll play that one right now for you. So here we are over Amsterdam. Again, please be nice to my flying skills and ability. I was trying to do recording on the camera at the same time with like trying to control it with the stick. It was just mind-boggling to be able to do all of that. But
oh no, people, brace for impact.
Oh lord.
I had to delete some recordings because I just I caused the engines to stress and stuff. Cool, so just moving down some of the questions. So one for you guys really. So one question from Impertrol, something like that, asks about the physics. So they said that the physics look quite arcadish, but is this the case, or is this a simulation just like X-Plane? So what are your guys' opinion on all of this?
I think from my experience, it feels good. I think the what a lot of people think it feels arcadey is from the camera, the way that Microsoft has the camera set up. I think a lot of that has to do with it because the camera kind of floats around, kind of like you would kind of see in an arcade, especially in the external. But yeah, I mean, if you know how to like put the Cessna into spin, you can spin it. I know the Icon. I haven't done much with the Icon, but I know that aircraft is designed specifically to not spin. So I believe it. I haven't been able to spin that aircraft before. It's a really fun aircraft to fly as well, but it does feel really good. I would say it's closer to X-Plane than say Prepared in terms of the physics, but it's very good. I think very realistic, especially having flown the Cessna, feels just like the Cessna.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like being a pilot in real life, I really had something to compare it with, and the Cessna, like it's different on what type of hardware you're used to, because a joystick doesn't have much tension and stuff like that. But like the honeycomb yoke, for example, that has like built-in tension, and you can really feel it. And the 172 in the sim, when I did stalls and everything, I was like, wow, they really actually took the right parameters from the real world aircraft and put it in. And I definitely agree with what Nick said about the camera movement. I think that definitely affects it, and it kind of portrays an arcade-ish style, but I can confirm that it's not, and it's very accurate.
Yeah, I totally agree. Having spent a while flying it, I mean, I flew it back in September, and you can tell they've spent a lot of time tweaking the physics of this particular sim based on feedback. I mean, they've got pilots, they've got over 20,000 testers at the moment, all chipping in with their feedback about trying to improve the sim, and you can see the difference between what it was like flying it before, where it did feel a bit sloppy and you kind of did a slight twist and suddenly your plane went flying, but now it feels much more stable. And I think one of like Prepared and FSX's biggest criticisms was always about how on rails the flying felt, whereas this feels, it really is dynamic and interacts with like the weather and the atmosphere all around you as well.
Right.
Once you get the sim, everyone needs to try the high wind in the one with the 152 landing challenge. That is a challenge and a half with the wind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and also I was gonna say also, I do know one of the team members at Asobo got their pilot's license during the making of the sim, so they definitely have someone there that knows especially how to fly.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Serious perks to those guys. Making this whilst also getting their PPL, that must have been a hell of a challenge.
And being stuck at home because of quarantine too.
Yeah. I forget when they got it, but it was a few months ago.
Cool. All right, so I'm just going to keep going through the questions. So a couple of quick ones. When will this come out on Xbox? Ebrium asks, and the answer is we don't know. Microsoft hasn't announced any plans for Xbox. Carsack1 asks, how big is the simulator? If anyone wants to quickly Google how big the Earth is.
Do you want? Oh, Do they mean like install size? Because I can calculate that real quick.
Sure. Nick's gonna find out that question for you.
So right now, with the current beta build that I have installed, I am at 94 gig install.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you very much. So another question is, can your friend be in the same plane as you? So I guess that's talking about
shared cockpit.
Yeah. So really cool feature, but I don't think it's it's not in my beta build at the moment. So
it's not my beta build. Yeah. There was supposedly some documents that showed shared cockpit in one of the videos, but that was possibly from the older sim, FSX, but I think it would be a cool feature to add in the future for sure.
All I can say is keep your eye out on everything that's happening in the flight sim community and on the future, because there's a lot of robust activity happening, so you never know.
Who knows? Such a cool feature though. Like using it in other sims and stuff makes it feel much more engaging, especially working with other people. Cool. Alright then, so one of the other popular questions is, they have a max download speed of 1.3 MBs. Is this enough to be able to use the sim?
Small B or big B?
Small. Well, that's how it's typed out. Small B.
If it's small B, that's gonna be, you might have to stick with the offline, and that's gonna be a fun download for you as well to just get the sim installed.
True. I mean, if you're in Europe, you can get the disc version.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
I have decent internet. Mine's about 20 to 30 megabits, small B, down, and overall it loads pretty well. I can definitely see sometimes, especially if I go really fast, try to load in some stuff, but if I'm using GA flying, it loads pretty well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's on Wi-Fi.
So I think it's an interesting question because I think there is a kind of a perception at the moment that you need a really high quality, fast bandwidth to be able to enjoy this sim like altogether. And whilst there is elements of truth in that, you do need internet to stream all the data for like live weather, things like the air traffic, and also the generated buildings and stuff. As Nick was saying, it's still in offline mode. And if you're living in an area where you do have like patchy internet, you can always do the cached mode as well, where you can download a specific region and area that you might be intending to fly, download that data specifically, and then you can load up the sim with all of the little bits of detail as well, which I think is like a compromise between kind of both the offline and the online version as well. But the best experience will be to fly it online.
Yeah.
Cool, okay. So just to give you an update on what's being shown at the moment, this is Montreal, which was a request from the community as well. Again, excuse my terrible flying and also terrible camera work. But again, this is just one of those cities that just visually impressed me like immediately. What were some of the cities that impressed you when you first kind of took off and flew around them?
Honestly, the most jaw-dropping thing was flying over my house. Literally, that was the first thing I got the sim downloaded, and the first thing I did was load up my local airport, take off, and try and find my house. And it was...
Yep.
I mean, I am in the US where they have the geographical data, but I've still even looked around like Europe. I think the UK is a place where they don't exactly have the 3D stuff, but they've done a good job. And actually, little funny thing, I was flying around where Top Gear does their stuff, and they have their test track, which is also an airport. But like, so like they have a couple planes on there, and so the 3D planes are actually like buildings in the shape of planes, which are pretty funny to see.
Yes, for me it was definitely like Nick said, flying above my house. I was like, oh my god, there's a tennis court, there's a pool, oh my. And then being in Florida, flying to Key West is a really, really nice experience. Key West looks really, really nice in the sim. The water looks beautiful, and just Florida, because Florida is a really nice place to fly. It looks awesome in the sim.
Oh my gosh.
Is this the first time you've seen San Fran, Nick?
Oh no, I'm still looking at Montreal on the stream. It's like a minute delay for me.
Right.
Yeah, I was commenting on the it just looked like someone was there was a bunch of the same question just spamming all at once, but it wasn't.
Cool.
Oh my god, you came close to that building in Montreal.
Yeah, I did. That's why I gave the prerequisite of excuse the flying. Cool. So just to go through some more questions then. So when will we see more of the 787? Matrix asks. We don't know. Unfortunately, the builds that we have are of the standard edition, so we only have the 20 planes in that build. Another question is, will ATC be required to use pushing back? So I didn't. Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah, it's I mean, you don't have to necessarily use and contact ATC because it will kind of do it for you, but it is in the ATC menu.
Cool. Nice one. Another question. I'm just going to flick through some of these really quick because there are so many coming through. Will there be failures that you can do in, as there were in X-Plane 11, for example, a bird strike? So they do have some simulated failures. I don't think bird strike is one of them. But as we mentioned earlier, if you start doing things to the plane that you shouldn't do, then it will start to punish you for doing those things. Another question is, will every country be available? Yes, you can literally fly anywhere in the world, whether that be the US, London, England, Spain, France, Korea, China,
Nepal.
Antarctica.
Literally anywhere you want to put your icon, and I'll show you the user interface in just a second. You can literally explore the globe, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Another question from the Twisted Rider is, can you put checklist maps on a second monitor? So I can confirm you can. So in the menu, there's like a drop-down box, and you can select different options such as weather, such as ATC checklists, and you can click it's like a pop-out button, and you can drag that, pop it on a second screen, which has actually been very helpful whilst capturing all the footage, because I can have the camera controls on one screen and then record the sim on the other. Captain Tim asks, will there be gliders?
At the moment, no. There is a glider option in the menu, is there not?
Yes.
Like there's tabs for airliners, jets. There is gliders, so that makes me think eventually they'll come, possibly in one of the paid DLCs that they've announced, I would guess, along with, I think they've also said they want to do helicopters.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that comes along in one of those updates.
Now the question is, does that stop you from building your own glider and with the SDK and putting it in the sim?
Exactly.
I could build a box, put two like wings on
Yeah.
it, and then just hope for the best. That's classed as a glider.
Well,
right?
you
It's
know,
got an engine.
anything that is flying through the air is classified as an airfoil. So even a rock that you throw in the air, it's an airfoil. So
Cool. Right, so moving on. Does real-world AI traffic communicate with ATC? It does. I mean, it communicates with the ATC in the sim. To suggest it is realistic would be a different question. I mean, the ATC within the sim is somewhat basic, but it just, you can hear like planes around you and stuff, and they're talking to the AI and stuff as well, which is cool. Right, let's load up another video. So let's go to one of the more interesting ones was Skiathos, which is a Greek island.
Ooh,
So I thought that would be kind of interesting to see. Mostly because I thought, wow, this is pretty much a remote island. There's not going to be much data for that particular area. But I was pleasantly surprised at how Greek it felt and how like tropical it felt as well when you start to see that come through. And whilst that's going on, let's go through a few more questions as well. So we are asked, do you know if we'll be able to paint our own liveries from a paint kit, just like we could on FSX?
I was just talking about that earlier. We don't know yet, actually. Nobody knows.
In the dark.
Because the only livery we...
Sorry, go on.
Go ahead. Okay. The only livery we have in the sim is the one you've been seeing in any other promos, like the house livery Aerosoft, house livery Boeing, and kind of the other house liveries for the different companies. So we don't know at the moment.
So we also saw the Iberia one as well, didn't we? Like a very
see that.
quick snippet. And I had an interview with the team from Microsoft and Asoba last week, and they said about how, although I don't think they've provided a paint kit yet, people have managed to find ways to paint liveries already. So there's already
I do remember
stuff.
I remember seeing a British Airways A320 in a screenshot a while ago that was in one of their updates. And I was like, where did they get that?
I think there is a way to do it, because I'm thinking like the AI aircraft are pretty much 3D models as well, right? So they have like random bars and colors on them, random different liveries. So I think those were painted manually in some way too. So I think there is a paint kit that they have, but it's just not out there yet.
Not yet. Cool. Okay, so moving on. Orange Juice asks what Yolks and Joysticks are supported. So actually there was a list, which I'm sure one of the two lovely assistants we have, or I can hear Nick type in, he'll pull that list up, and we'll swing back to that question in just a second.
Do you remember what update that was in?
I think it's in the FAQ section on their Zendesk thing. Southwest 009 asks, will there be the 737 NG3 in Microsoft Flight Simulator? So yes, there will be a 737 from Pmdg at the very least. I mean, they did share some glorious screenshots yesterday. In fact, I think that's the first time we've seen any public third-party screenshots.
I think so, yeah.
What did you guys make of those screenshots?
Lovely.
They were amazing. I think someone posted another thing in a Discord server I'm in today, and they said it was from it. It wasn't one of the things I had seen elsewhere, so I'm not sure if it was actually PMDG or not. But it had me fooled. It looked real.
It looked lovely, yeah. And you can see a difference from like how the lighting and the cockpit textures are in P3D versus how they look like more like kind of towards X-Plane in Microsoft 2020 in the new sim. It's new.
I just found the supported Flight 6. So, starting with Honeycomb, we have the Alpha Flight controls, yoke and switch panel, Logitech, Extreme 3D Pro, flight rudder pedals, flight throttle quadrant, flight yoke, X52 and X56. Thrustmaster has a ton, like the TCA at Airbus, the F-18, HOTAS Warthog, the T16000M, a lot of the T-Flight, HOTAS 4, rudder pedals, and there's a bunch more. Let's see, Virtual Fly has the Rudu, TQ3, TQ6. I'm not sure how to pronounce that one. Has the Yoko, and then there's Xbox controller support as well from Microsoft. And I will post the link to this in the chat for everyone to look at.
Awesome.
You're hearing my voice a minute later after I've posted this.
I think just one note on hardware as well, and something that I thoroughly enjoyed having lots of different setups and stuff. As soon as you plug it in with any of those that Nick has mentioned, it automatically recognizes the inputs like correctly for what you need it for. So for example, if you've got the Honeycomb yoke and it's got all of the extra buttons like the avionics, master switch, and the lights and stuff, they are pre-assigned already within the sim without you having to like do any of the changes to the configuration stuff as well. That was super handy. And
that's what they mean. That's what they mean by supported. That doesn't mean any other thing won't work. That's just what they have like pre-assigned stuff.
Cool. All right. So we got a flood more of questions coming in. So Philippe asks, the RTX 2060 will play on Ultra with 16 gig of RAM. I can't answer that specifically. Do you guys have that hardware?
I would guess not Ultra, but fairly high up you'd be able to play. Maybe high to medium settings.
What was the hardware again?
It's the RTX 2060, 16 gig of RAM.
No, I have the 2080 Super, unfortunately.
I think I'd be the closest with a 1080.
Yeah.
So I'm not able to play it on. I can play it on Ultra. It's not the smoothest, but if I just go down a little bit, it becomes smooth. The 1080 and a i7 4790K.
Yeah, it's all to preference. Sorry for interrupting, Callum. It's all for preference because like I've had people tell me, oh yeah, I'm going out to buy a Titan Pascal, which is like a $4,000 graphics card.
Wow.
Yeah, so like it's all up to what you prefer and how you want to make your sim experience look like.
Yeah, so everything you're seeing, well, most of what you're seeing, I captured on my system, and I have a 1080 Ti, a really old processor like the i7 4000 series, I think the 4770, and 16 gig of RAM. So what you're seeing is high settings whilst also recording through NVIDIA, and you can kind of see the visual representation. So hopefully that tries to answer that question. But this is a sim built for the future. I mean, it works really well on current hardware, but also you can just imagine in a few years' time how like super slick this will look in a couple years' time. So one Dandy Andy asks, will Microsoft be sending out physical CDs?
In Europe.
Yeah.
Through Sim Market and Airsoft and a bunch of other people?
Yeah. So I think this is just European markets. I don't think Microsoft have committed to a US market or distribution. So if you are in the US, I'm not sure how you'll get the 10 discs.
It's gonna be like 10 CDs.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So Paul Cutter asks, when the game comes out, will there be planes to buy straight away from the marketplace? Interesting.
That is unknown. We don't know exactly, because with the update with PMDG, they are saying they are still working on getting the SDK and API fully completed for what they need to make development. But that doesn't mean maybe there's something more simple coming out, like some other GA planes, because they would be they're system wise at least a lot more simple to program than a 737 NG.
I mean, someone could make a rock, as you said, he won.
Right.
Exactly.
And what we don't know is we don't know if Asobo and Microsoft have literally a hidden DLC that they have planned, and they're literally going to release it on day one. So we don't know that either. So it's all up to a surprise for everybody.
And I know the question was originally about aircraft, but I can comment on scenery. So Aerosoft have confirmed they're making scenery for the simulator, and although we don't know which ones are due to release, the last conversation I had with Microsoft during a press thing last week was they are planning to release some scenery on launch day. So I don't think we'll see planes to the same degree as probably what maybe that question was asking about, but I definitely think we'll see some scenery products come out on day one, because Microsoft have said the marketplace will be ready on day one. So that presumably means there's going to be some content available on day one. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty empty store.
Because they've already opened the applications long ago for people to get pre-approved and get on the store. So,
Cool. So before we go back to some questions, I just want to talk about some of the videos that we've been playing over the couple of minutes just gone. So we've moved away from cities, and I've been demonstrating some of the airports within the sim. So these airports are known as handcrafted airports. So they are the ones that Microsoft have gone into a lot more detail than the default ones. So again, just to be really clear, all 37,000 airports are included with the sim, but there will be an addition. There will be 30 airports in the standard edition. I think that's right. 35 in the premium, and then 40 in the premium deluxe, which have had a lot more care and attention. So I've gone through, I believe, Gibraltar, I've gone through Entebbe, and now I think we're demonstrating Innsbruck as well. So the full list is over on the Microsoft website, or you can check it out on FS Elite. And we're just going to highlight some of those handcrafted airports to you guys as well. Which does bring me nicely on to the next question about what is the difference between an airport included in the premium pack versus something not included? So I guess these are about the handcrafted airports. And Gary is particularly interested in Heathrow. Have you guys spent much time at non-handcrafted airports versus the crafted ones?
Yes.
So what?
You want to go, Nick?
It's not the biggest difference actually for some of them at least. For some of the airports that I've flown to, like I know Queenstown in New Zealand is one, and that place it looks spectacular. But if you go to another airport, it also looks just as spectacular. It doesn't have, say, some of the finer details, like some of the finer details in the building design, but it's comparing it to like where airports that I've been in real life, it's still pretty good. It's very flyable. It's not like, I know how some people back in Prepared or FSX have a little disease we like to call defaultitis, where you just don't find any default airport because it's just so bad looking. Because there's going to be very few airports, if any, that are just bad looking. They all look good.
Yeah, and I can say that too. So I flew at Boca Raton in Florida, which has a college campus, which is a football stadium right next to it. It's a small GA airport. There's many jets coming into it, and it looks accurate. Flying in real life at the airport and seeing it in the sim, it's accurate. Now, I've also been to Toronto Billy Bishop, which is one of the highly modeled airports, and you can't see a difference. There's slight elements that do make a difference, but both airports are true to life, and it's not like one has a runway that was decommissioned 14 years ago, and the other one has updated taxiways and everything. So they're all accurate.
Yeah, I've had similar experiences in some of the, I guess, more remote ones here in England as well. I mean, the thing that is always in the back of my mind, right, is how does this compare to default FSX? And X-Plane and what we've had previously, right? Because yes, they don't look perfect. They don't look the same quality as what we've seen from third-party developers who literally spend months, years crafting one particular airport. And the quality difference here compared to other sims is like night and day, isn't it, essentially? I mean, the environments feel very much alive. There's a lot of soundscape stuff going on in the background as well. We've got animated traffic all like whizzing around and stuff. I think I spent time in Aspen chasing a fuel truck down one of the taxiways, which was pretty cool. But that kind of stuff is, it makes it feel a lot more alive, and I that's been quite an immersive experience, at least from my experience anyway.
I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
Add. I think at some point, there's a couple of people that have set their expectations higher than I think they should for the sim at default. Because remember, the sim, it's default. Like, if they spent as much time to get every world to the third-party developers' standard of like scenery, airports, the sim would never come out. It's just still default, but know that the third party is coming. If you have your expectations high, that it's going to be like study level planes, completely accurate airports, you're setting them too high. Because remember, it is a big worldwide sim that needs to has detailed spread all over. So,
yeah, absolutely. Wise wisdom. Cool. So let's just move on with some of the other questions. So another question is, will there be a crash model like X-Plane? And are we going to be able to simulate no-gear landings and other emergencies? So I don't know if you guys have tried this out yet, but this is actually part of the newest update with the beta. You can do belly landings, and it's demonstrated in one of the screenshots actually that was released last week. So whilst, to be really clear, and Microsoft were very clear about this as well, you won't see physical damage to your plane, like broken wings or like holes or explosions, but you are able to perform some emergency type of stuff and land without wheels and all that. So that's pretty cool. Can we create our own instrument panels for home cockpits? Now, I have zero experience in that. I guess you guys don't either.
Well, I have a friend. He actually owns, I don't know if you guys know the company Flight Velocity.
Oh, yeah.
They experience in cockpit panels and everything. And I was talking to him about the sim and everything, and he doesn't know yet. They don't know. It's like nobody knows. It's all in the dark. It's all a long shot so far. So until something gets released from Microsoft, nobody knows. But there probably could be if you can separate the gauges, like you could do an X-Plane and have the 3D pop out gauge and stuff like that, then it would probably be possible to do a cockpit panel.
I do remember the conversation I had back in September with the team. Like, cockpit building was something they were fully aware of, so I don't imagine there will be steps back. So at this time we can't really answer that question, but hopefully we'll see some stuff in the future. Another question from Sina is there an option for disabling the flight instruments in the external view? Easy answer is yes. It's the first thing I did.
Exactly.
But yeah, you can do it. If you're a newcomer to the simulator, then it's great to have that information there whilst also seeing the visual delights of the outside. But for those who are looking for that, I guess, hardcore experience or just to see the world, then yeah, you can easily turn that off as well.
It's enough information to fly, but it's not overly bearing, I found, as well when I had it on.
I think what would be nice is if you could customize the information on that screen.
Oh, that would be good, yeah. Like checkboxes of what you want to see.
Yeah.
I heard a little rumor, and I don't know if it's true, because, see, like I said earlier, you don't know what's true and what's not. But I heard that they are adding the option to customize the panels outside.
Awesome.
So we shall see.
Cool. Right, let's get through some more questions then. So 2 questions followed by one of the other. Will we get cabin sounds from the wing view? I haven't actually tried that yet, so I don't know if you guys have.
I have not tried that.
I haven't tried it because I couldn't figure out the drone camera yet. It has a lot of assignments. There's a lot of assignments that you can really customize your experience with the camera model, with almost anything. It's a little overwhelming, but just take the time with it, get it set up to how you like it, and it'll be great.
We use an Xbox controller actually for the drone camera. And a
Yeah.
separate Xbox controller control the drone camera, yeah.
I heard that was automatically detectable and had the drone camera assignments, but I don't have one of those, which is sad.
See, that's what I heard as well. So I don't know if it's in this pack I've got, but I recorded and I was flying around and suddenly I heard stall, stall. My plane was going down because I hadn't changed the camera settings for the Xbox controller yet. So unfortunately we can't answer that question, but hopefully if we do find out, we'll obviously post it up on FS Elite. Moving on down, so VATSIM, how is it going to happen? That's a question for VATSIM.
Yeah.
I guess it's a case of you can connect and you can still have ATC. As for the models, I don't know yet. I don't know how that's going to work. If they're just going to use what like FSX and X-Plane does and just have like a default one until someone makes a package of 3D models and liveries and stuff. But VATSIM is coming on day one. How it will work, that's probably a better question for those guys. The Pmdg planes being produced, are they going to be launched as DLC or something entirely paid for? And whoever has the premium version will receive them for free. So, good question. And the answer is they will release that aircraft as a separate purchase. Whether they use the Microsoft store to sell their product is not yet known. It definitely won't be for free as it is a completely separate entity to Microsoft. But Microsoft has said that there will be continuous updates for at least the next year. That's what they've roadmapped out. And that will include various updates and much requested features as well. Moving on down, how will live traffic airplanes that are not modeled in the sim be rendered? What will you see? What have you guys seen?
What do you mean? When you mean live traffic airplanes that are not modeled?
So I think, for example, if there was like a Air France A380, what model shows up in the sim?
There's a couple generic models I've seen. The A320 is definitely one. There's this A380 kind of model. There's a A330 767 kind of model. They're very generic models. They're not like modeled after a specific plane. They're very generic. I've seen the PC-12 in there. Yeah. There's a couple of very generic models that have been added. So I guess it interpolates the closest thing. I don't know if it's by weight, by size.
Yeah. No, like military traffic, for example, there's nothing really that represents that. So, but even on like Flight Radar 24 and FlightAware, you don't really see military traffic often. So,
yeah, cool. Hopefully that's answered your question. Two questions that followed up one another was, why haven't we seen a little bit more about the 787 yet? And is there any more footage? So the only footage we've seen was the first screenshot they shared a couple of weeks ago when they formally confirmed it was coming, and then there was like a small clip in the video we introduced at the very beginning, and we don't have any more footage than that at the moment. But that's coming in the premium deluxe version, which none of us have at the moment. And then a second part to that question was, do any of the jets currently have any flaws, and do the buttons of the overhead panel work?
A good amount of the overhead works. I attempted to do, or I did fly a flight in the 747, did as much as I could, and a good amount of it was usable. Again, remember, they're default planes. They're not going to be Pmdg quality like you're used to. So just take that with a grain of salt. It's flyable. You can fly it on LNAV. It's been a while since I've tried to do a full flight with the 747. So I don't know how much it's been updated, but it's definitely flyable.
What I could say is the A320, for example, because I flew that, the basic functions are there. Like you need lights on, you need to start your engines, you need the packs off, packs on. That works. Is it as can you compare it to the FS Labs or like the Flight Factor A320 and all that? No, because like Nick said, it's a default aircraft, and systems take a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's what Pmdg, for example, specializes in.
And again, I always think back, what did we have in FSX? What do we have in X-Plane? And are these better? The answer for me is
yes.
they are better. And that for me is exciting because anyone who gets the sim will automatically have this somewhat okay-ish rendition of an airliner, and they can actually press the buttons and they will tend to function as they should do.
You can get the basic functions of the MC.
Yeah, which is far more impressive than we ever had previously in default stuff.
Right.
So again, that's where that expectation lies for me and hopefully for you guys as well. So moving on down, let's have a look. Will there be a demo version? Not that we're aware of. I don't know how you could make a demo of this. I think they had one for FSX. I think you just had to fly around like Seattle or something.
Yeah, it might just limit you to a small area.
Like the X-Plane demo.
Yeah.
It puts you in Seattle and it's 15 minutes.
So there might be something, but we don't know that at the moment. So here's a good question. So what exactly do we know about multiplayer, official and private server rules? Anyone want to take that answer?
So, having messed around with it a bit, the way I believe it works, there is 3 different modes. There is I know there's a mode for everyone. That
live mode.
Yeah, there's the live mode. There's groups where you can say invite people to a group, and this is kind of how you can make your FSX servers. You can friend people, you can invite them to your group. It's not necessarily like anyone can join and you are in your private server, but you can get your friends together. And then there's for everyone online, there's 2 versions, I think. There's one where there's like no rules, and there's one where you do follow rules.
Yeah. So there's lots of options, and you can do things like add friends and stuff, and you can, I don't know if you've seen, but you can see friends on the world map as well.
Yeah.
So you can like join their flight as they're flying, and I'm sure as more and more people get it, it will just become much more populated with lots of people doing
What's really fun
flying.
What's really fun to do is see a friend on the map. They don't know you're coming, get into a really fast plane and buzz them, and then they call you on Discord a few seconds later. Like, what the heck was that?
Yeah. Or take off. They're trying to take off from one end of the runway, and you go to the other end, and you just shoot out at them.
It's just going to be chaotic once this comes out, and there are lots of new people.
Oh, I'm scared for day one. I am scared to go on the live servers on day one. 20 million people, just like, oh my.
I see that. That'll be fun.
Cool.
That sim will definitely crash.
Oh yeah. So another question from Rahul is, I was wondering if smog and haze is simulated as well. So in FSX at 5-mile visibility ended up blocking out the sun. Is this depiction more realistic in Microsoft Flight Sim? So one of the best things I think of this sim is the way weather is interpreted. I think I got a video of Dubai, which I'll show up now, and I will just scroll through ahead, and you can see the Burj Khalifa, and I changed the weather on the fly, and you can just see how the clouds don't just appear, but they kind of descend or they form, and it creates an atmosphere as opposed to just randomly popping in and having like that popcorn effect, which we've seen in other sims as well. It is, for me, one of the most immersive experiences is the weather and how it forms all around you and stuff.
Yeah, just looking off to the side and seeing this big anvil is quite terrifying.
And also I don't know if you've seen any dynamically generated rainbows yet, but that is a really cool piece of kit.
I have, yeah.
Cool. Another question is about loading times. What's been your experience on load times with the sim?
Very quick.
It's quicker than I expected. It's longer than FSX and prepared, but it's pretty I don't know if you guys agree, pretty close to X-Plane load times. Maybe a tad bit longer, but if you have a nice fast storage, it'll load nice and quick.
Depends where you load into as well, because there's airports that take longer, and there's airports that are pretty quick. So
yeah.
Cool. All right then. So hopefully that answers that question. Another question is, will fuel matter? Is there an option to turn fuel on and off depending on how I want to fly? So
I don't remember if there's unlimited fuel.
I know you can adjust the fuel on the fly. So in the in-sim menu, you can adjust like the payload weight and the fuel. So if fuel is of not concern to you, I guess you could just
Keep refilling it every few hours.
Yeah. But I don't know if there was an unlimited fuel option, obviously, in like FSX and stuff, but I'm not sure if it's made its way across to this sim as well. Does it have police racing down the highway with lights flashing as it is in X-Plane 11? I haven't seen emergency services yet.
Have not seen it yet.
I've seen like the highways and stuff are populated with cars and trucks and stuff. Sometimes to quite comic relief as well, with the way sometimes they maneuver around like some of the cities and bridges and stuff. I have quite enjoyed seeing like the traffic at the airports, especially at night when they suddenly like their headlights turn on and the beacon turns on, and it's all very dynamic. It's not like just random. It's you can almost and in fact you can hear like the ignition start if you're close enough with these fuel trucks and baggage carts and stuff as well.
I haven't seen any emergency vehicles, but you know what I have seen, and you might get a taste of it. Fuel trucks and all this airport equipment just wandering on the runway when you're about to take off or land. that you might get a taste of.
Yeah.
Cool. So before I go on to the last few questions we've got here, I'm gonna play a different type of video, and this is of the kind of the menu, the user interface, because we've had quite a few questions about how does this look, how does it function, and also some concerns that it's a bit too quote unquote gamey for them as opposed to kind of a simulator type thing. So I personally love the UI. It took a little while getting used to because I think we're so stuck in our ways in having what simulators have presented to us beforehand. But I love this. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's very user friendly.
It's very. I mean, it's clear that it's also built for Xbox to work on Xbox as well, but it doesn't mean that it's bad or anything. It's the menu. It's where you're going to just be spending to set it up. It's very usable. You got all the options there. And I mean, if you're going to be critical over the sim because of the menu, you're missing out.
Honestly, it's the buttons and stuff don't look much different from X-Plane's menu. The only thing that is different is that there's that hangar scene and there's a different the global map. So it's just like touch-ups on things you've seen in other sims before in other places.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I'm just flicking through the pre-recorded stuff here, but also having like challenges and different types of flying stuff that you can do in training sessions is all super accessible. And I love the visual aspect of it as well. You can see what type of thing you'll be doing in a sim, and I think for newcomers as well, which is pretty engaging. But you mentioned the world map. That is beyond a shadow of a doubt one of my favorite features of this entire thing, which is crazy considering you've got the whole world to explore, but just this user interface is awesome. We talked earlier about you can go to any country and you can literally put your cursor on anywhere in the world and fly there. You can zoom right in and see all the details, even parking gates. And I don't know what you guys thought, but I loved how you could pick on a point of interest or a landmark as well and start your flight from there, rather than having to load up to a near airport and then having to find some like the Statue of Liberty. Go find that from JFK or whatever. Yeah.
If you guys didn't know, you could literally just plonk the dot in the middle of, say, the Pacific, and it'll start you where you plonk that dot. And so you could be lost and trying to find your way back to land as a fun game, I guess.
And if you want a quick loading time, that's exactly how you do it.
There you go.
Cool. Okay, so we've got time just for a couple more quick questions before we wrap this up. So how much will the sim cost? So the standard edition is $59.99. The premium edition is this is testing
$89.99.
Amazing, thank you. And the premium deluxe?
$119.99.
Amazing. Now, they will differ depending on what country you're in and what store you pick it up from. Do you need to buy the deluxe edition to see the whole world? Nope. The standard edition will include the whole world. The only difference between, the differences between the different editions are the included handcrafted airports and also some of the aircraft as well. Wondering if there's any particle effects yet, such as engine blast on a runway and also contrails when cruising at altitude.
I haven't seen engine blasts on the ground, but I've seen contrails.
Contrails, and you can see the thermals coming out of the engine as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you can consider that particle effects.
Cool. Let me just load up one more video, and then really want to know what airlines are included. So the aircraft are the A320neo and the Boeing 747-8 Intercontinental, but there's no included liveries, at least not in the build that we have, although we have seen Air Iberia in some of the previews as well. And just a really nice question actually from Jeffrey Bennett is, what does the AI Copilot actually do? Would it help a student pilot? Have you guys used that feature at all?
No, actually, I have not.
I believe it's it's kind of like it's like you have a flight instructor sometime. You can either have it do the systems for you, you can have it point out stuff, or just read it out to you.
X-Plane has that feature too, the AI that takes control of your plane, and I think X-Plane has like a few features. There's like one that can get you lost and like take you to wherever you've never been before. There's one that can fly the plane for you on a set course. So it's different. For this one, I haven't tried it yet, so I wouldn't know what to say.
So I found it very useful for taking videos because I could set up a kind of a flight pan, and then I could set the AI thing, and it would fly it quite nicely. And in fact, I did it once where I did a circuit from my home airport. It did the whole circuit and landed it for me in a Cessna. Wow. It was like I had like a auto land and stuff on, which was pretty cool. But I think, if you are learning to fly or trying to get to grips with this sim and suddenly everything becomes quite overwhelming, I think it's a really cool feature to have. And of course, if you're like a serious simmer, you can leave it off and fly with it and do however you like. But again, this sim is just super accessible, at least in my experience anyway. So we've got time for just one more question, and it is from Marcus M. And he asks, is there prop rush or beta range with the turboprops? And also, can you brake with the propellers without using the brake like in real life?
Oh, yes. It's pretty fun. It's quite the sound in the TBM when you go full reverse. I had landing right behind my friend, and he was just like, whoa, I can hear your engine it's like right inside. It's quite the sound, especially, and it's like with the King Air, you can just put it into reverse and go backwards if you want.
Yeah.
Like in real life, because all the sounds are in real life. So the TBM is very loud in real life when you do all that. The King Air is very loud in real life when you do all that. So everything is mixed and matched. It's real life counterpart.
Yeah.
Excellent. So that wraps up all the time we have today. Thank you everyone who's watched and asked us questions. Hopefully we've managed to take as many of your questions as possible. Now, of course, we're totally aware there's probably still plenty more that you want to find out about the sim. So please do head over to FS Elite and we will start trying to find your questions and start answering them as best as we can. But before we do go, we have just one more video we want to share with you, which is a common question I've seen across all platforms, and hopefully you get a lot of enjoyment out of this particular one. But that is everything from us today. Thank you for watching, and we will speak to you again soon.